Welcome to the Prolific Pulse Poetry Podcast. This is your host, Lisa Tomei Zonneveld. Today, as our guests, we'll have Chuck Corbisiero and Bill Cushing. They grew up across the street from each other nearly 50 years ago, and they have gotten together to present a show consisting of Bill's poetry and Chuck's musical musings. The two reconnected at the end of 2015 when Bill presented a reading commemorating his publication in an anthology called Stories of Music. Now, their mutual love of music has brought them together to offer a unique look at the world through the marriage of music and writing the two have called Notes and Letters. Bill is an M.F.A. graduate from Goddard College in Vermont, has lived in the Los Angeles area for 20 years, and teaches English at area community colleges. He has been publishing professionally since 1987 and began poetry as a serious avocation 2 years later. Chuck is a guitarist who plays jazz, blues, Brazilian, and various other musical genres. He earned his B.F.A. in musical performance and arranging at the City University of New York, the City College during Gil Evans' tenure as artist in residence from 1987 to 1983, and he also plays stand-up bass and worked as Eddy Arnold's guitarist until 1992. He moved to the area in 1991 when he began his family. Now their mutual love of music have brought them together to offer a unique look at the world through the marriage of music and writing called Notes and Letters. Last March, the two performed during the open mic segment of the second Sunday Poetry Series held at the Studio Theater in Los Angeles. Based on that, they have secured their first standalone show, which will be held at the Bolton Hall Museum on the afternoon of Sunday, July 24th, and is being sponsored by the Village Poets of Sunland. All right, Bill and Chuck, it's great to have you here today. So excited. I'm just really excited to see this background of Chuck and all these beautiful babies he's got lined up. Whew. Do you have a name for all of your guitars?
The primary ones that I play, I have little nicknames for them. And depending on how well behaved they are.
That's wonderful. What's the name of your favorite guitar?
My favorite name is this one over here. Well, you can't. Called Wes, for Wes Montgomery.
Oh, nice.
That one here. This one.
Oh, what a beauty. Oh, love it.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, it's around back. Beautiful. Well, Bill, you've been on here before. You were talking about your other poetry book and you've got a new book of poetry out, and I just want to hear about what's going on. So just jump right in and start talking.
Well, I guess
update me.
Chuck and I, and this is not so much related to the new book as it is to our own work together. We're scheduled to play on May 7th up in Altadena at their annual Lit Fest in our persona as Notes and Letters. So that's the name we operate under. Chuck is the notes, I'm the letters.
And you have known each other for 50 years or so, eh?
Yeah, it's going on 50 years now.
Did you keep up with all those years, or were there gaps of time?
It's more than that because we didn't see each other for 45 years.
Okay.
So we've known each other, 50 plus years.
Yeah.
Well, now it's easier that we know we're, pretty much in the same area.
Okay. And how did you come about deciding to do this project together?
You can blame Chuck for that. So that's his idea.
What? No, that's true.
You want to tell it?
Okay. Well, what happened was I got a message one day on my Facebook Messenger from somebody who was on my Facebook list, and it was from Bill, and it said, "Is that you?" And I said, "Wait a minute, that says William P. Cushing," and I thought, "Is that Bill Cushing from across the street?" I hadn't seen him since probably 1972 or something. So anyway, I responded back. I said, "Yeah, it's Chuck from across the street." And he said, "Well, I have a book opening over there on La Brea at this bookstore." It was about 2013. And he said, "Why don't you come down and have a coffee?" And I came down, I met Bill and his wife. And then as I was leaving, I said, "Hey, maybe sometime I could bring my guitar and improvise to your poetry. I play jazz guitar and see how it goes." So Bill said, "That sounds like a great idea." So I got together with Bill, and then we did a performance at the Ruth Dennis Theater in Studio City. I think that was the first one we did, Bill. Right?
Yeah, it was the second Sunday's readings. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah,
it.
every second Sunday of the month, this guy holds a reading and features, but he also has open mic, so we stepped in on the open mic. And then it really grew from there, because remember, that was when I think it was Mirak was the one who came up and said, "Hey, call me, we'd love to feature you guys." And we ended up at a small museum in the Sunland, Tahunga area.
That's
And
right.
it grew from there. We started making a playlist, you know, try to get ourselves booked in as many places as we could. We haven't been able to do much lately, well, partially because of the lockdown, but also because Chuck is now traveling between here, Los Angeles and New York quite a bit. So
Yeah, I came back around March of 2020 because my parents were going through a bit because my dad had a heart stent put in, and I was trying to keep him out of going in the nursing home because he was 87 at the time. And then this thing happened where they were, it was really risky to go to the hospital.
Right.
So I did my best to take care of him. And then when he passed, but not from COVID, but he had his heart condition. So after that, I figured, well, I better stay and help my mom, even though my mom doesn't need my help. She's more capable than I am. She's 89. She's going to be 89 in a few days, but she still works. She's a parliamentarian. But I have 3 brothers, so I decided, well, you know what I'll do is I'll stay here in New York, and then my kids are spread out over my son is still in LA and my daughter's in Austin. So I decided I'd stay here and help out with so I'm here like 2/3 of the year in New York, and then the rest in Los Angeles. So that's
I'm
how
sorry to hear about your father, but I'm glad that you're able to be there and help out mom. So that's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, he had a great full life, no regrets. Great guy, and it was good to be with him, and but everything worked out with that. Like I said, but my mom, I'm just here to make sure she doesn't, she has a tendency to shuffle with her feet, and I was just like, "Mom, just pick up your feet when you walk." And but other than that, she travels. She goes to Orlando for conventions. She
Cool.
works for the United States USA Kennel Club.
Okay.
That's one of her clients. She's a parliamentarian, which is like a secretary that takes all the minutes, and she's the bad cop at those meetings.
by the way, I was going to say, I think Chuck is also there for his mom's cooking.
Yeah,
Oh.
I gained 40 pounds in 2 years with all her ideas. She's what we call the carb buster. If there's a way to slip in some extra carbs, she knows how to do it. So she's got it all figured out, because my dad was Italian stock and my mom's German and Irish, and between the 3 of them, man, that it's like we call it the anti-keto diet. She's got the pasta going, schnitzel.
throw in the towel. Just
Yeah,
enjoy it.
I gave up. So anyway, so
Yeah.
40 pounds later, and here we are. Where were we,
That's
Bill?
funny. Oh, well, Bill, what would you, I know you mentioned something about you had some videos that you wanted to share that kind of,
Chuck and I were, well, because this is more promotion of our show coming up. I mean, certainly we can get into my new book, but I thought just to let people hear what we do, we have created a YouTube channel. And I'll start actually, since Chuck is and I are both big jazz enthusiasts. Thought I would start with
needs to show up. It's brings it like on Windows.
with a jazz related piece we've got. And so what I'll do, sorry.
that's okay. YouTube always requires you to go through a bunch of other stuff to get to what you want.
Well, the fact that they're throwing ads on our channel makes me feel good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So what I need to do.
Yeah, I subscribe to your channel. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
That's what it's all about now on YouTube. I'm just learning about how it works, getting subscribers and getting in the algorithm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the and getting likes.
Yeah.
But this piece is one of my earlier poems. Well, actually, all of them are fairly early. And this was actually in the both the Former Life and the Music Speaks book. But I will let the piece itself do the talk.
Listening to Bird. Flying through scales, he did the impossible, stretching staccato sounds, stopping only to change direction. He found places in his search for every note not imagined, leaving chromatic gravity, breaking confines, shooting up into infinity. Then he rested, hanging on a single random chord, bending branches of music, but never breaking them, lingering wherever he chose, staying just long enough to make it his territory and his alone.
So that's,
Wow.
and I'm not sure which tune it is, but I think Chuck incorporated a Charlie.
That was Embraceable You,
Basically,
but it was his interpretation, and I took it off of an album he did. But I did my interpretation of his interpretation, and it came out because he played it on alto. So when I did it on guitar, I said, well, I have to think like I'm an alto player, like Charlie Parker. And I try to like channel that energy, how to get it real light. It's like this light, airy thing that I hear it that way, as a light, like touch, not real heavy. So I tried to do that when I'm doing it. So, and then I thought when Bill said he was going to do the piece about him, I said, well, let me take this, go find one little snippet of a solo that he did that I thought fit the poem. So then I improvised it and fit it, and we did that together live when we recorded it. So it wasn't really mixed or anything. We just did it, and then that was the first take we did, right, Bill?
I think we got it right away.
Yeah, one take.
That was well done. I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me throw one more in, as long as I've got the hang of this, I hope. Chuck and I, and of course we're both on the coast, but having grown up in New York, we both lived on the water. I think our houses were basically a block away from the shoreline, but of course the dock was on the other side of town. But at any rate, being on the water has been a big influence for us growing up. And so I'll throw this up, and let's see. It is here. And this is another one of ours that I think works very well.
Pelicans. Slowly circling, the pelican drops like a stone into water. Then climbing the air, he stops and, with a single motion of wings, glides on the wind.
Is that your photography? Good.
Actually, this is our channel was basically visually put together by one of my former students. And he collected some of the pictures we got to him, but he collected the others. And then, of course, he's got the video clips of that. Yeah, he did a really great job.
That's
Yeah.
Kevin Cardenas.
Cardenas, yeah.
Hang on, my mom's calling me. Just 1 second. I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'm
But yeah, he
sorry.
you know, we were looking to put it together.
So
and,
yeah, my pop.
this was sort of his line of work. I said, well, you know, can't offer you a lot, but at least you'll get a resume, you know, some resume materials. So he was happy to do it. I think we traded out for, we took him out to dinner and then took him sailing a few times. So it was great work and at minimal expense.
Well, that works out fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, what is on your plate now? What would you like to do?
Well, like I say, we're looking forward to this this show, and by the way, and I think, let me see if I can get this in there. This is the a book we designed that comes. By the way, that is one of Chuck's bass guitarists posing in the background.
That's
This is
a
actually taken in the
bass
studio.
violin.
A bass violin. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
they're upstairs, and I have one in LA as well.
wow.
But yeah, of course, I've got the new book out, the just Little Cage of Bone, and certainly happy to talk about that. But I thought it's always interesting this blending of music and voice.
It is. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I wish I'm going to go to your YouTube and I'm going to watch all of the videos after this because and share them because I
Yeah.
love this that you show.
Yeah, well, some of them are, and we're trying to pick the ones for today that are a little bit shorter because, you know, limited time and stuff. But they move anywhere from under a half a minute to, I think maybe the longest is 2.5 minutes.
Mhm.
Minutes long. You know, the Miles Davis one, which is the longer piece, Cusqueños, which is about Cusco and Peru. But we will be adding some new stuff from the new book too. You know, where I have pieces in that book that we wanted to kind of feature at this show coming up in May. But
Yeah, here's a picture that we have of you all doing
oh
the
yeah,
meeting.
that was at the Sweet Coffee House.
Yeah,
Nice. Are those well attended? Did a lot of people come?
Actually, we when we played there, it was more a captive audience because we just sort of came in and set up shop. But no, we had some good turnouts for those. I think the one that we got the best turnout at was the Bolton Museum show we did, where of course it was a sponsored show, so you know, they did as much advertising, if not more, than we did.
Right, yeah, they do that here in Raleigh. They have at the art museum on Friday nights. They
Oh,
bring in different groups and that, and yeah, I could see that to be very well received. You should come to Raleigh and do
There
your
you go.
presentation at the Museum of Art.
be great.
Yeah,
I have a very good friend of mine lives, where is he? I think he's near Chapel Hill now.
yeah, it's just down the road.
Yeah. In fact, actually, one of my most fun weekends was in, was it Lumberton or Parkton? I think it might have been Parkton. I'll have to send you, I did actually write something up on that, so maybe I'll send you the text. It's you know, a nonfiction piece.
Okay, awesome.
I'll send that to you for your reading pleasure.
Okay.
But yeah, like I say, yeah, I'm obviously I'm also trying to sell the new book quite a bit. That one is just a little cage of bone,
Right.
which came from Southern Arizona Press, and I always like to tell people such a deal at $7. If anybody's interested, it is on Amazon, and it's a full collection. Obviously, the smaller book is just a collection of, I don't know, maybe 15 poems of mine, if that many.
Who designed the cover?
Hmm?
Who
Oh.
designed that cover?
This one,
Yeah.
actually, I put it together, but the cover art, and let me throw this out. I'm trying to remember it. I think it's called camstock.com, I think is the name of the business. I wanted to get something that fit the title. The title of the book actually comes from a Donald Justice poem and actually it's where he retells the old, I think it's a Mesopotamian parable about meeting death. And one of the lines in Justice's poem was how death held out his hand, and he called it like a cage of bone, or like a little cage of bone. And I wanted that illustration because honestly, the book is, look, I just passed 70. It's just me looking back at life more than anything else. Even though you could argue the first book was that was called The Former Life, but this is a little bit different in that it's not as truncated or delineated as the other one. But I went to this website, and to get copyright use of that photo, of that illustration, it cost me $8. So I said, well, the artist I wanted to use locally was not available to do what I wanted to do. I said, this looks good. It fits in with the title nicely. And so I went with that. By the way, I like to say that's my challenge to people is, if you want to make the artwork cost me more than the $8 I paid, I have to sell 500,000 copies of the book. So if anybody would like, I will happily pay the extra money, sell 500,000 books. But it is available on Amazon as well as through myself. And I think also the publisher, Southern Arizona Press, has it available on their website too.
So I'll be sure to look that up and put the links in the show notes. Now I see that you're having this festival coming up May the 7th.
May 7th at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's funny. It used to be called the Pasadena Lit Fest, but they're moving most of it to Altadena, which is just a little bit north of Pasadena. And from what I understand, most of the exhibits and presentations will be at the mausoleum. So this is going to be our sort of return. I mean, we haven't had much of a chance to do any live performances. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be scary because we haven't been able to practice the new pieces. And I think our plan right now is to get together Sunday morning before the show and do a run through. So
yeah, do a run through.
It'll be literally by the seat of our pants, I guess. Well, not literally, obviously, but
well, sometimes those are the best.
Yeah.
The spontaneity of it all. Sometimes
and it's
adds.
freewheeling anyway, what we do.
Yeah, you already bring the talent anyway.
Yeah.
You know, between the music and the poetry, you already have the talent there. It's just, taking a risk and just doing it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Make it look easy, even though you might be sweating. Well, I've truly enjoyed talking with you guys. I wish that I lived close enough to go to one of your shows. So I hope that they'll record them. We will put them up on YouTube.
Hopefully, in fact, I haven't talked to Chuck about this yet, but now that you mention it, hopefully we can get his son up there and get him to record it or something.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. We'll put him to work.
Yeah. If I can, what I'll do is, before we close out, I will read one piece
Okay.
from the new book, and I think we're planning on, I don't see it on our playlist. Maybe we're not going to do this one. But this is one that comes from the new book, and it's definitely, and Chuck basically, I have to credit him. He's sort of the impetus behind this. We were talking about having grown up in the neighborhood, and, you know, our memories of it and that sort of thing. And this poem came out of this, and this is in the new book, and it's called First Work. At 10, I sought my first paycheck from Mr. Kunstler, the old man across the street, wheezing on a porch stoop, laid low by emphysema. I'd hear his body struggle, trying to sing songs he'd sung when young, now chained to heavy tanks to inflate his lungs. Each Saturday, he'd sit behind a roll-top desk, retrieve his ledger to sign the check I earned, dragging their 2 metal trash cans to the curb 3 times a week. When needed, I'd cut the grass, shoveled snow from the walk. His signature, scrawled and jagged, the only flourish he had left in him, but a half-century before he'd been a warrior, a Basque who'd fought Franco, an armed fury riding horseback through the forests or across mountains that spanned the Spanish border. On days he wasn't hindered by breathlessness, he'd recall those years, invading the plains, then sleeping on stone beds or hiding huddled around clandestine fires set after scaling those coastal steppes. Once he croaked the words, Askasatuna, Eta Heralda, freedom and country. And in that moment, his face brightened, his back straightened, and he seemed to shed age. Often my job's done, his wife of 60 years sat with me at their kitchen table. She poured homemade lemonade, fed me slices of burnt cheesecake from our country, she'd say, her aged eyes fixed on her own distant memory. After he died, she tripled my pay to thank me for returning her husband a measure of pride.
Oh, that's really nice.
That
Okay.
was technically was my first paying job.
Right.
I think I was 13 or 14 at the time.
Yeah. Good memoir poem. I really like that. Chuck, do you write poetry of any kind or songs or?
I do compose music, but when I do it, I hear like a story in my head, almost like I'm hearing like a dialogue, and then somehow the melodies to me sound like somebody's speaking. It's like a dialect or a language. It's almost like synesthetic in a way. It's like you're hearing words, but you hear it in a melodic form on in an oral way on the instrument. So it's like you're giving a melody to a story, telling a story, but it's a different I guess it's a different genre in a sense of putting a melody and then having it people usually a lot of times they get a dialogue and then they put a melody to it. Sometimes I just come up with a melody and then I'll think in my head, well, what would the words be? It's pretty abstract. But
I like it though. I mean, it makes sense though when you think about it. It's like the music is calling for the words instead of the words calling for the music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting phenomenon.
Well, fellas, thank you so much for coming on here today. You know you're always welcome to knock on my door, and wish the best for you. Come to Raleigh, come to Chapel Hill.
Thank you.
Love to
Our
have
pleasure.
you all here and go see you live. So we have lots of places to do, lots of venues.
Yeah.
On the first Friday, all the art museums are open. Well, thank you all so much, and you all have a blessed day.
Thanks for giving us the
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.